Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies to heal from anxiety and depression. The topic of today's video is people with mental illnesses enrich our lives. Now, I think this is very important because of the stigma that surrounds mental illnesses. So many people with anxiety, with bipolar disorder, who are depressed, believe they are defective or something is wrong with them. And yet history shows us that many, many famous people had mental illnesses or have them right now, and yet make important contributions to society. The example I want to start out with is that of Abraham Lincoln. Now, Lincoln achieved tremendous greatness in spite of the fact that all throughout his life he had episodes of crippling depression and despair. These were brought on by the early death of his mother and the cold treatment at the hands of his father. I want to share with you one particular episode that occurred on the eve of his wedding. Now, you might think that weddings are times of joy and expectation, but Lincoln was not like that. He was severely depressed. And this passage is taken by, it comes from a book called The Vital Balance by Carl Menninger. And Carl Menninger is very, very famous because he started the Menninger Institute, which is one of the best psychiatric hospitals in the world. On his wedding day, all preparations were in order and the guests were assembled, but Lincoln didn't appear. He was found in his room in deep dejection, obsessed with ideas of unworthiness, hopelessness, and guilt. Prior to his illness, Lincoln was an honest but undistinguished lawyer whose failures were more conspicuous than his successes. This is when he was considered well, before his mental illness made its appearance. What he became and achieved after his illness is part of our great national heritage. Some scholars say that Lincoln's depression helped him to preserve the Union. The tenacity that he used to get through his past depressions gave him the perseverance to maintain the country during the Civil War. Another politician who suffered from depression was Winston Churchill. Like Lincoln, he led his country during a time of war when not just the Union was at stake, but all of Western civilization. Now, later on, Churchill was diagnosed with OCD and major depressive disorder, which he called the Black Dog. To deal with this, Churchill actually took up watercolor painting, which served as a useful distraction from his illness. My next example is J.K. Rowling, the author of the widely popular Harry Potter books. Here's what she said: "I'm not the least bit ashamed of having suffered from depression. It nearly took my life." Another actress who suffered from mental illness is Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia in the Star Wars series. She said, quote, "I have a mental illness, and I have no shame about that. Ask me any questions." A third person who suffered from mental illness was Patty Duke, who started in the widely popular Miracle Worker. In 1982, she discovered she had bipolar disorder, and she became a passionate advocate of mental health. And she wrote a book about her life called A Brilliant Madness, Living with Bipolar Disorder. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Robin Williams, that great comedian and actor. Williams suffered from addiction for sure, because he checked into a treatment center right outside of Portland, and probably depression. And as many of you know, Williams had an untimely death by suicide in 2014. You may have noticed that the last four examples were either writers or artists or actors. Could there be a link between creativity and mental illness? This is exactly what the psychologist Redfield Jamison proposes in her book, Touch with Fire, Manic Depressive Illness and the Artistic Temperament. In her research, she found that many artists who were subject to exalted highs and despairing lows were actually struggling with the symptoms of bipolar disorder. Jamison studies, here's the list, writers, poets, painters, sculptors, and musicians, and found a definite link between mental illness and creativity. Just think of Vincent van Gogh, who died of a self-inflicted shotgun wound and left us a treasure of wonderful paintings. Jamison even proposes that manic depression is kept in the gene pool because it brings to the human race creativity, which is a very highly valued trait. I once joked that if Prozac were invented in 1900, we would have no 20th century American literature. Without a bit of madness, there's no artistic creativity. So, the next time you feel down or ashamed about having a mental health disorder, think of all the famous people with the same diagnosis who have enriched our lives. That will make you feel a lot better. This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to learn more about my work, my website, healingfromdepression.com, or you want to subscribe to this channel, simply click on the links in the closing credits. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery.